Your critical application is deployed in Region A. You need to implement disaster recovery in Region B to ensure minimal downtime and data loss in case of a failure. A. Use multi-AZ deployments in Region A and enable S3 cross-region replication for backups. B. Use Route 53 latency-based routing, replicate the database to Region B, and launch instances in Region B during failover. C. Use Global Accelerator for traffic routing, DynamoDB global tables for data replication, and auto-scaling for instances in both regions. D. Use CloudFront with a backup origin in Region B and enable RDS multi-AZ for database replication. Correct answer. B. Use Route 53 latency-based routing, replicate the database to Region B, and launch instances in Region B during failover. Explanation: Route 53 latency-based routing ensures users are routed to the fastest available region. Database replication ensures minimal data loss, and launching instances only during failover keeps costs low. Why not other options? Option A, multi-AZ is confined to a single region and does not provide disaster recovery. Option C, Global Accelerator is not a disaster recovery solution, it optimizes global traffic routing. Option D, CloudFront does not handle application-level disaster recovery. Your company runs a batch processing job daily, which lasts for 3 hours. The job requires a large number of compute resources, but can tolerate interruptions. A. Use on-demand EC2 instances with auto-scaling. B. Use reserved EC2 instances with auto-scaling. C. Use spot instances with auto-scaling. D. Use Lambda functions to process the job. Correct answer. C. Use spot instances with auto-scaling. Explanation: Spot instances offer significant cost savings for workloads that can tolerate interruptions. Auto-scaling ensures the required number of instances are available during the job's execution. Why not other options? Option A, on-demand instances are more expensive. Option B, reserved instances are cost-effective for predictable, long-term workloads, not daily batch jobs. Option D, Lambda has limits on execution time and may not handle large batch processing jobs. Your company wants to migrate a legacy monolithic application to AWS. The application consists of a web server and a database server. It requires high availability, the ability to handle spikes in traffic, and minimal operational overhead. A. Use EC2 auto-scaling with an RDS multi-AZ database deployment. B. Use Elastic Beanstalk for the web application and RDS multi-AZ for the database. C. Use ECS with Fargate for the application and DynamoDB for the database. D. Use EC2 instances with an EFS file system and an RDS read replica for scaling the database. Correct answer. B. Use Elastic Beanstalk for the web application and RDS multi-AZ for the database. Explanation: Elastic Beanstalk abstracts infrastructure management, provides high availability with minimal overhead, and automatically scales the application. RDS multi-AZ ensures high availability for the database with automatic failover. Why not other options? Option A, EC2 auto-scaling requires more operational management compared to Elastic Beanstalk. Option C, ECS with Fargate is suitable for microservices, but adds unnecessary complexity for a monolithic application. Option D, EFS is unnecessary for the application, and RDS read replicas do not provide failover support. Your company processes IoT sensor data in real time and performs analytics. The data must be ingested, processed, and stored for querying later. The solution must minimize latency. A. Use Kinesis data streams for ingestion, Lambda for processing, and S3 for storage. B. Use Kinesis data firehose for ingestion, EMR, for processing, and DynamoDB for storage. C. Use Kafka on EC2 for ingestion, Lambda for processing, and Redshift for storage. D. Use Kinesis data streams for ingestion, Kinesis Analytics for processing, and S3 for storage. Correct answer. D. Use Kinesis data streams for ingestion, Kinesis Analytics for processing, and S3 for storage. Explanation: Kinesis data streams provides real-time ingestion of IoT sensor data. Kinesis Analytics processes streaming data in real time using SQL queries. S3 offers cost-effective and scalable storage. Why not other options? Option A, Lambda is not optimized for real-time analytics of high-throughput streaming data. Option B, EMR adds unnecessary overhead for real-time analytics. Option C, Kafka on EC2 requires significant operational effort, and Redshift is not ideal for streaming ingestion. You want to host a static website with SSL, HTTPS, support. The website must be globally available with low latency. A. Host the website on S3 with CloudFront for distribution and ACM for SSL certificates. B. Host the website on EC2 with an application load balancer and ACM for SSL certificates. C. Host the website on Lightsail with a custom domain and SSL from a third-party provider. D. Host the website on S3 with Route 53 for distribution and a self-signed SSL certificate. Correct answer. A. Host the website on S3 with CloudFront for distribution and ACM for SSL certificates. Explanation: S3 provides simple and cost-effective hosting for static websites. CloudFront ensures low latency and global availability. ACM provides free and managed SSL certificates. Why not other options? Option B, EC2 and ALB add unnecessary complexity and costs for a static website. Option C, Lightsail is better suited for dynamic applications rather than static websites. Option D, self-signed SSL certificates are not trusted by browsers. Your organization uses multiple AWS accounts for different teams. You need to allow the development team in Account A to access an S3 bucket in Account B securely, following AWS best practices. A. Create an IAM user in Account B, attach an S3 access policy, and share the credentials with the development team. B. Use AWS organizations to allow cross-account access to the S3 bucket. C. Configure a bucket policy in Account B to allow access from the IAM roles in Account A. D. Use Resource Access Manager, RAM, to share the S3 bucket with Account A. Correct answer. C. Configure a bucket policy in Account B to allow access from the IAM roles in Account A. Explanation: bucket policies allow fine-grained access control across accounts by specifying conditions for access. Using IAM roles in Account A ensures temporary, secure access without sharing credentials. Why not other options? Option A, sharing credentials is insecure and violates AWS best practices. Option B, AWS organizations is for account management, not direct resource access. Option D, RAM is not used for S3 bucket sharing. Your company runs an RDS MySQL database that is used only during business hours. You need to reduce costs while maintaining availability during working hours. A. Switch to an Aurora serverless cluster. B. Use RDS with multi-AZ and reserved instances. C. Use DynamoDB with on-demand capacity mode. D. Schedule the database to start and stop during business hours using AWS Lambda. Correct answer. D. Schedule the database to start and stop during business hours using AWS Lambda. Explanation: scheduling the start/stop of RDS during business hours significantly reduces costs while maintaining availability when needed. Why not other options? Option A, Aurora serverless is cost-effective but not suitable for MySQL compatibility in this case. Option B, reserved instances reduce costs but are less flexible for infrequent usage. Option C, DynamoDB is not a relational database and would require significant re-architecture. Your organization generates 10 terabytes of log data daily. The logs must be retained for compliance for 7 years and queried occasionally. The solution should minimize costs while maintaining query capability. A. Use S3 Standard for storage and Redshift for querying. B. Use S3 Glacier Deep Archive for storage and Athena for querying. C. Use S3 Intelligent Tiering for storage and EMR for querying. D. Use DynamoDB for storage and Glue for querying. Correct answer. B. Use S3 Glacier Deep Archive for storage and Athena for querying. Explanation: S3 Glacier Deep Archive is the most cost-effective option for long-term data storage. Athena can query archived data using the S3 Restore feature to temporarily retrieve objects for querying. Why not other options? Option A: S3 Standard is expensive for long-term storage, and Redshift is not optimized for occasional queries. Option C: Intelligent tiering adds unnecessary costs, and EMR is overkill for simple queries. Option D: DynamoDB is not suitable for storing large volumes of log data or unstructured data. Your team is building an API that integrates with backend Lambda functions. The API must handle a high volume of requests, ensure low latency, and enforce authorization using an existing identity provider, IDP. A. Use API Gateway with Lambda authorizers. B. Use API Gateway with Amazon Cognito for authentication. C. Use a load balancer with EC2 and integrate IAM for authentication. D. Use API Gateway with IAM roles for authorization. Correct answer: B. Use API Gateway with Amazon Cognito for authentication. Explanation: API Gateway is the ideal choice for serverless APIs with high scalability. Amazon Cognito integrates easily with external IDPs and provides secure user authentication. Why not other options? Option A: Lambda authorizers add complexity and are less efficient compared to Cognito for user authentication. Option C: Load balancers and EC2 are less cost-effective and introduce more operational overhead. Option D: IAM roles are not suitable for fine-grained, user-level access control. You manage a critical application hosted in an on-premises data center. The business requires a disaster recovery solution on AWS that ensures minimal downtime and minimal data loss. Options: A. Set up a pilot-light architecture with minimal infrastructure running in AWS. B. Use AWS Backup to replicate on-premises data to S3 Glacier. C. Use a warm standby architecture with scaled-down instances in AWS. D. Implement a multi-AZ setup on AWS and replicate the entire data center. Correct answer: C. Use a warm standby architecture with scaled-down instances in AWS. Explanation: A warm standby ensures that the application is always available in AWS with minimal infrastructure, providing faster recovery during a disaster. Why not other options? Option A: Pilot Light provides slower recovery compared to warm standby. Option B: AWS Backup does not handle compute resources or provide rapid failover. Option D: A multi-AZ setup is not applicable for an on-premises data center.